Welcome back to Fox Explainer. Today I'm going to show you a Canadian science fiction thriller movie from 2017 called Radius. Spoilers ahead. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Watch out and take care. The movie starts with bright lightning striking the ground. After the storm, a man wakes up in the middle of the woods, hurt and confused. He has flashes of himself panicking right before a car crash. At first, he thinks he might have dreamed about the crash, but when he sees the car behind him, it's clear that something terrible has happened. The man doesn't remember how he got there, so he starts walking to the nearest town. On the way, he comes across a car and tries to ask for help, but the person misses it and carelessly stops on the side of the road. After checking, he sees that the driver is dead. Her eyes have turned cloudy, as if she has a disease. The man immediately grabs her phone and calls 911. The operator asks what his problem is before asking him his name and where he is. Only then does the guy realize that he doesn't remember anything about himself. He doesn't even know if he has a name or any family members. He hands up the call in confusion and gets his wallet out. His driver's license says that he has no name, which confuses him even more. As he thinks about what he should do next, a dead crow falls on the car's roof. Its eye is also hazy, like the eye of the dead woman. The man ignores it and heads toward the nearest town. He finally gets to a diner, but inside, everyone is dead and their eyes are cloudy. He freaks out because he thinks the deaths are caused by a virus that can spread. He rushes outside just in time to see another truck driver die. He quickly covers his nose and gets a map from the diner before making his way to the address on his driver's license. A while later, he gets to a house that might be his. At first, he knocks on the door, but when no one answers, he decides to break in. After listening to the voicemail on his phone, he hears his own voice and is finally sure that the house is his. He also finds out that his name is Liam. Still confused, Liam cleans up and turns on the TV. The deaths he saw earlier are being looked into at the national level. Experts think it may be biological warfare or deadly virus made by nature. Either way, people are advised to stay at home. Liam sees a man working in a nearby field and tells him it is not safe to be outside. The person can't figure out what he's saying and walks toward him. Suddenly, his eyes get cloudy and he dies. Liam isn't brave enough to go outside, so he writes what he knows about the deaths and stays home. He keeps up with the news and figures out that the deaths are too localist for it to be a virus. In fact, every death that's happened has been near or around him. Then, he hears a crow cawing and goes outside to look. When he gets closer to the bird, it dies the same way that Liam has been seeing it die until now. At this moment, a crazy idea comes to his mind. He thinks that he might be the cause of the deaths because everyone who died was near him. He doesn't want to test the theory because that would mean more people would die. At first, Liam thinks about calling the police and telling them everything, but he doesn't know if they will believe him. Even if they do, he will probably be the subject of some strange experiments. So, Liam decides to take care of the problem on his own. He gathers food and supplies and then locks himself in the garage near his house. Later that day, the police came looking for him because his car had been found crashed in the woods. Liam goes outside to hide as far away from them as possible. One of the officers almost catches him, but dead birds in front of her stop her. As soon as they realize that strange deaths are happening again, they leave. At night, Liam dreams about the car crash and wakes up to find a woman in his driveway. She hears him in the garage and moves closer. Liam tells her to stay away, but she doesn't listen. A while later, he opens the door, and surprisingly, the woman is still alive. She says that her name is Jane. She hasn't remembered anything else about herself since this morning, when she woke up in a hospital. The staff told her that she was in a car crash and that the car was his. So she's here to ask him if he knows her. Both of them are as surprised as the other. They remember pieces of the crash, but they don't know what caused it or why they were together. As they talk, a puppy walks up to Liam and doesn't die. This makes him think that he is not at the center of the deaths. He doesn't tell Jane about his theory, and they go to his house together. They try to figure out if they live together, but it seems like Liam lives by himself. Suddenly, he looks at her reflection and remembers her getting into his car on the day of the accident. This gives him an idea, so he quickly opens up the map. They find a bridge near where they crashed and decide to go there to find out more. The next morning, they go to the said place, but neither of them remembers anything about it. Jane says that the only thing she remembers from her past is going to the mall with her family as a child. Liam thinks it's a good thing because it means she might still remember other things. Just then, Jane has another moment of clarity. One night, she was on the bridge holding a blank piece of paper in her hands. She threw it into the water, and Liam was with her. The two don't know what to think about it, but they aren't ready to give up yet. They go to the crash site to see if it brings up more memories. When they get there, they find a huge black circle on the ground. As they had expected, seeing the circle makes them remember more bits of the night. They know they were on opposite sides of the circle, facing each other, after the accident. Liam also thinks that the size of the circle is the rage of his curse. He tells Jane that the deaths started with him and that they stopped after he met Jane. Jane freaks out and refuses to work with him anymore because she is afraid for her life. She tries to run away, but he follows her. They stop when a car pulls over and a woman gets out and says she is a cop. She recognizes Liam as the man whose car they found in the woods. As she keeps him busy, Jane gets away. Just when she is far enough away, the cop dies. It is clear that Jane is a cure for Liam's curse. When she is around, no one dies, but as soon as she leaves him, strange deaths start to happen. To prove the theory, Liam takes Jane to a field with a goat and asks her to walk away slowly. When she goes outside the radius, the animal dies, making her think that Liam is right. After that, the two go to the hospital to get an MRI scan. They think the results will tell them what is causing the deaths. They stay close to each other during the procedure, but in the end, the results say they are normal. At the same time, they hear Liam's name in the news. The police have found the dead bodies of the cop and the farmer and tied the murders to him. The two know that if he is caught, more people will be killed. When they realize the police were already at the hospital, they quickly ran to the elevator. Liam gets in, but Jane is distracted by the missing person posters on the wall. She remembers that the paper she was looking at on the bridge was not blank. It was a missing persons poster with a picture of herself. Back in the present, Liam loses Jane and dreadfully gets ready to see more deaths. He tells the people with him to run out as fast as they can when the elevator door opens. They do what was told, and Jane comes to him at the same time. Thankfully, no one is killed in the accident. After that, they drive to a fenced property and spend the night in the car. Liam again wakes up from his nightmare about the crash. Jane later listens to the news on the radio. The police found out that she is with Liam, too. Her husband Sam is at a report conference pleading with her to come back. Jane is stunned because she didn't know she was married. They go to meet him alone and try to convince him to help them. At first, the guy doesn't believe the two, but when Liam proves his curse by killing some birds, Sam has no choice but to believe them. They go to his office where they can hide for a while. There, Liam finds a missing persons poster that Jane was holding in her mind. It has her picture and the name of a different girl. Sam says Jane's real name is Rose, and the girl in the picture is her twin sister Lily. She vanished a few months ago and never came back. Jane got worse and worse as a result of her leaving. She was too obsessed with finding out where Lily went, which caused a fight between her and Sam. This is when she left a few days ago and came back today. The story fills in a big hole in Jane's memory, helping her remember more things. That night, she gave up looking for her sister and was about to do the unthinkable on a bridge. Liam found her, and he saved her life. They were driving away from the bridge when the accident happened. She tells him that he saved her life and thanks him. Later, Sam sees her sleeping on Liam's lap and gets jealous. He calls the police, but he regrets it right away. When the police arrive, they separate Liam and Jane, which leads to their deaths and the deaths of the people walking nearby. After everyone dies, Sam tells the two to run away, saying that he will take care of things. Liam has an idea of where they were going after the crash. He thinks they were going to a secluded cabin he owns. They stop at a gas station, where a newscast catches their attention. On the night of the crash, an unexplained cosmic event hit the Earth at the exact spot where the crash happened. The two people think it might be the reason why strange things are happening to them, but they have no way to prove it. In the next scene, they arrive at the cabin, which is near a lake. They talk for a long time about their future and everything that has happened so far. Even if they do convince the authorities that the cosmic anomaly was the cause of the deaths, what then? They will have to be locked up and kept together for their whole lives. Liam thinks it's unfair that Jane will be his babysitter, but Jane says she won't mind a life like that. Since the cabin is far from the closest town, Liam can stay away from her without killing anyone. He goes to a lake nearby and gets on a boat. At the same time, Jane finds a journal by the fireplace. Inside it are several missing person posters, each with a detailed note about the person. Jane skims through it and finds her sister's missing poster at the end. Then, her real name is written at the top of the next page. It is finally clear that Liam is a serial killer who kidnaps and kills women. He is on the boat and having the same flashback as Jane. He realizes the truth and remembers how he killed Jane's sister and dumped her body in the water. He was about to do the same to Jane as well. That night, when they were driving to the cabin, Jane noticed that he was trying to calm her down. They got into an argument, which caused the crash, but they both got out of the car unharmed. When they were outside, the cosmic event happened and trapped them in a dome-shaped energy. They don't remember what happened after that, but the pieces have finally come together. Liam goes outside the lake and throws up when he thinks about the horrible things he did when he was his old self. Suddenly, Jane shows up with a gun and asks him to bring her sister back from the lake. She is about to kill him but can't bring herself to do it. They go back to the cabin and find a group of men outside. This group thinks they are terrorists and attacks them. Liam runs away a little further and kills 2 of the thugs. Meanwhile, the last one gets scared and shoots Jane. He also dies a while later, but Jane is badly hurt in the process. Liam rushes her to the hospital and watches as the doctors carry her away. He no longer identifies with the serial killer he used to be, and he feels disgusted with himself for what he did in the past. In the end, he does the unthinkable to stop any other deaths. That's all for now. I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more and hit the like button to help me out, and also leave a comment if you want me to explain your favorite film. Until next time, take care.